Hey YouTube, I just want to quickly give you a guide on how to farm Abyss after the 0.4b patch. There was a big nerf to Abyss on the 0.4b patch, but here's a showcase of a map we farmed in a 3-man party. You can also do this alone, and it doesn't require any investment, but it has some requirements I will talk about. The actual investment in getting one of these maps is pretty low, but just to show you, this is basically a little bit of the clip we have, so you can see the entire screen is cluttered with currency. Now, before I go over the farming strategy, I would like to show you guys the highlight of our loot from one map. If you don't want to see the loot explosions, you can skip directly to how to get waystones, how does the atlas look like, how the precursor tablet looks like, and what the requirements are. So hopefully the clips kind of convinced you that this strategy is very profitable. But let's talk about the actual strategy, what interactions to use, how to roll the waystones, how the atlas looks like. First of all, you will need a map which is overrun by Abyss. It is a pretty big requirement. Once you finish a map, there's a 5% chance that a nearby map is overrun by the Abyssal. Basically, what this means is it will add a lot of abysses in your map, and you can farm the map, basically. It is very similar to the unique tablet Unforeseen Consequences, which is roughly priced around 6 divines at the moment. But once you have that modifier, you can run this nearby map for free, basically. And the atlas looks something like this. You want to take all the precursor tablet effects, you want to take all the increased pack size, explicit modifiers, and quantity and rarity. And down here, this is how the abyss tree looks like. And here from out of the pit, you want to take increased effectiveness of abyssal monsters. This will increase the quantity of the loot. Now that we've gone over how the atlas tree looks like, let's talk about the precursor tablets. They're actually quite cheap still, I would say. So the most important modifier we're looking at is called abyssal monsters in map have increased difficulty and rewards for each abyss closed. Basically, what this means is the more abysses you close, the more difficulty it gets, but also the better the rewards get. So if you have a map with like 20 abysses, you get a lot of rewards. If your character is weaker, you can also run a lower waystone, for example, tier 7 or tier 10 waystone, to make it easier for you. Another mod, which is really important, is the so-called map has a 30% chance to contain 4 additional abysses. This will increase the amount of abysses you can generate. And this map this modifier map has increased number of rare monsters is also quite good, but not essential. Most important is that you have these two modifiers. Abyssal monsters have increased difficulty, and map has 30% chance to contain 4 additional abysses. You only need this modifier once, and then the other tablets you can do map has additional abysses and map has additional rare monsters. Because the rare monsters scale also with the abysses. In the showcase, you can see there's multiple rare monsters spawning from one abyss. It is very similar to the pre-nerf, where you have 2 additional rare monsters per abyss. Before I go over the Waystone, I just want to give you guys a quick tip. The Abyss Precursor, if you have the mod, your maps are inhabited by 1 additional rogue exile, and it has 10 users remaining, it's actually worth a divine. So just for a small tip, in case you're rolling for these Abyss Precursors, you can sell these for 1 divine just simply with this 1 modifier. Now, what happens if you don't have Overrun by Abyss? If you do not have Overrun by Abyss map, you can also just run these maps like this. Just make sure you have additional abysses and more rewards the more pits you close. This will also give you a decent amount of currency, but not as much as an Overrun Abyss map. Let's go to the Waystones. For Waystones, you really want a Waystone with high rare monsters. Usually they are pretty cheap. You can get like 99% for like 20 exalts or even cheaper. So it's quite cheap if you compare the amount of loot you get afterwards. You can also craft your own maps. It's quite common to get high rare monsters. And that's basically what you're looking for. If you do not have an MF finder, you would also need some rarity on your map. So if you have 0 item rarity, you should also look for a little bit of item rarity on the Waystone itself. This will help you with getting better drops. One thing to add though is that this strategy is quite difficult, so you need very good gear. And if you do not have insane gear, you have to lower the tier of the Waystone. So try to run a tier 7 or a tier 10 Waystone instead. And yeah, I guess that's about it for the strategy. So basically, to summarize, you want preferably a map with Overrun Abyss. You want a tablet with more rewards the more pits you close. You want additional abysses. And on a Waystone, you want rare monsters. And if you don't have a lot of rarity on your gear, you want item rarity as well on the Waystone. And basically, that's the whole strategy. The idea of the strategy is just to close a lot of abysses, and the more you close, the more loot you get. If you have friends, it is very good to run together these kind of maps because it increases the quantity. It's a lot of fun. You get a lot of loot. If you want to know more strategies about farming in the future, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and let me know how the farming strategy goes for you.